Like all good guests, I'm bringing a little present along. But first of all, we have some deep conversation without the book, and then watch what happens when he thinks the programme is over.
Michael Ashford!
5, 4, 5.
All right, we're coming to This Is Your Life now. Now, I'm not going to shy away from this. These are the standard questions, but I'll look you in the eye and I want you to tell, do people know, has it changed at all? I mean, I understand up until, I reckon, about 1985, but being a cynic, I think these days it has to be massaged a little.
If we thought they knew, we wouldn't do it.
You look terrific, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm still in awe of someone who I've known for a long time now. That's Michael Aspel, for God's sake. Thanks, Mike. Well done. Thanks ever so much.
Well, that's it. He thinks he's seen the last of me, but the night is young.
Stay tuned for the film. I hope I can see you again next week. Good night, everybody. Oh, no! Nonsense. Nonsense, are you? I've gone all like heaven. No, Mike! No, Mike!
Well,
no!
You thought I'd gone home, but I couldn't go home, you see. I had to hang around and say, Danny Baker, tonight this is your life.
No! Yes, Mike!
Oh, good.
Wow!
I'll keep that for a bit.
Wow!
I'm going to take you away now.
I can't.
Yes, on your feet.
Get up.
Come on.
Jeez.
We're going straight out into a car.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice one.
Keep moving.
Oh, the biter bits. Do you know how smart I was being, saying, they never got me because I'm...
Well, there you are, you see.
Right. Nonsense. This... I'm saying to you there, do they really know? And I think, oh, yeah, you know, because... Why does he always... I know you're used to people babbling like lunatics when this happened, but if any...
Is there a drive? Stop and get to the...
Jeez, I don't believe it, Ashton.
Right. Which way? That way.
Oh, nuts. Wow, mate. Oh, God, I was telling you a terrible story about me. Wednesday. No,
so boring.
no, no. Jeez. Oh, wow. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Thanks, gang. Thank you very much. Of course, you know I knew all the time. Ah, oh, so this is the... I'd just like to get somebody on my show one time who hasn't got strings attached.
Now it can be told, did you know?
No, it's a nonsense. Mike, in the last couple of months, I've promised... Not my socks don't match. In the last couple of months, I've promised myself two things. One, if I ever got a MasterChef, I wouldn't go, I broke that when I got a MasterChef a month ago, and I said, if I ever, you know, in fantasies, ever got on This Is Your Life, I wouldn't go, I don't believe it. And I just saw myself giving it plenty. No, I didn't know.
That's what we like to see. Well, you have noticed the Danny Baker fan club is in strength here, including your wife, Wendy, and the children. Yeah, quite. Sonny and Bonnie, and your mum, Betty, and your dad, Fred.
Yep.
And no one who knows you, of course, is exactly amazed that you finally got your own chat show, least of all, one of your best mates.
That's right, Michael. Danny never minces his words, so I won't either. Danny always could. Took the arse off a donkey.
Yes. Another chat-up merchant, Jonathan Ross.
That'll be the Ross.
So this guy's a master of the written word as well, isn't he?
That's right. The first time I worked with Danny, he wasn't front of the camera. Danny was writing scripts for me. He did some radio stuff for me. Yeah. And then when I was doing the British Comedy Awards, just about every year, I think, you've written the script.
That's 2 years.
With someone else? No, no. And the great thing about you is Danny has this incredible confidence, not just in the way he's presenting, but in the stuff he's written. And I remember one year, there was a line in the script, and I remember saying to Danny, I'm not 100% convinced this line will get a laugh. I really don't know whether this is your finest work. Danny said, no, trust me, it's fantastic, but you have to sell it. You've got to sell it. Don't go out there apologising for it. Don't feel...
Shock, shock, horror, horror, shock, shock, horror. I'll shout myself off.
It does. The line was, it was for best comedy newcomer. The line was, comedy, ladies and gentlemen, needs new blood almost as much as the black pudding industry.
Very funny line. Very funny.
If it had got this laugh that night, I would have been pleased. The next year, Danny was on giving out an award, and he came on, and the intro that he'd written for himself for me to read was, a couple of years ago, I did a line which was the line, and here's the man who wrote it. Danny came out, did the line, pulled the house down.
Pulled the house down. And there is the difference.
Jonathan,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's right, Jonathan, you bet.
So, Danny Baker, this is your life. Our story opens in Deptford, southeast London, on the 22nd of June, 1957. Fred, you had other plans for that day, I'm told?
Yeah, to go on a beano in the docks. And Bet said to me about 7 o'clock in the morning, she said, I think you better get the midwife. And I said, well, I'm going on a beano. And she said, well, you've got to get her. So, at any rate, I phoned up the midwife. I made my way across the Isle of Dogs to tell the lads that I won't be coming on the beano. And when I arrived back home, Danny was born.
Yeah.
You could have gone on the beano.
You said, is it a boy or a girl? And you shouted, I don't care if it's a box of kippers, didn't you? That's what my mum said. Yeah, I don't care if it's a box of kippers. Just get it out. Yeah.
Well, you're the youngest of 3 children. Sadly, your elder brother Michael died in 1982, but his wife Jane and daughter Alexandra remain part of a very close-knit family, which includes nephews Robert and Danny, named after you, of course, along with your sister Sharon and brother-in-law Roger. And Sharon has kindly lent us this touching moment from her wedding video.
Oh, no. Rocky.
Yes. Now, who is that? Who is that? Come along. Yes. You call yourself the Bermuda Triangle of fashion.
The Bermuda Triangle of fashion, yeah. It disappears when it's put on me, yeah.
Far too much. Now, although you're careful to avoid the label professional Cockney, London is where your heart is, and it's like father, like son. Sonny, what is your favourite food?
Pie and mash and a winkle sandwich.
Doesn't hang about. And for a few more of Danny Baker's favourite things, over to your dear friends, Chaz and Dave.
Wow, good stuff.
Hello, Dan. For your special occasion, we've written a couple of verses, especially for you, based on a Chaz and Dave song we know you like, called That's What I Like.
But instead of singing about things we like, we've written a couple of verses about things that you like, called That's What He Likes. Shall we do it then?
If you like.
There we go. The Simpsons, David Letterman.
Pie and mash and Savoys.
30-something, Sonny and Bonnie.
And a night out with the boys.
A Wendy and the kids and all.
And autobiographies.
Frank Sinatra bookshops, videos and CDs.
Jeeves and Worcester comedy quips.
Country songs and a bag of chips. That's what he likes. Staying at home and watching the telly.
Films in black and white.
Buster Keaton, Laurel and Hardy.
And then of course he might.
You know, on a Saturday afternoon with all his mates.
Go down the den.
Football, Millwall, praying they won't lose again.
Armani suits, tomato sauce.
Punk and Chaz and Dave, of course. That's what he likes. Have a good night, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Chaz and David. Did they leave anything out?
No, I'm staggered. I've obviously done research done well there. It's virtually everything I like, yeah. Absolutely everything I like.
They know
I think
you.
so, yeah. Really was good.
Well, we happen to know that you're also an avid collector of books by the great P.G. Wodehouse.
Ah, the master.
Do you have the whole set?
Yes, well, no, I tell a lie. The Girl in Blue is I'm after. I think The Girl in Blue, and I found it only the other week. That's the only one I got, but otherwise, yeah, I'm a bit of a Woodhouse bore.
Well, having done our own research, we have realised there are 2 missing volumes in your set, The Girl in Blue and another book, and we have tracked them down. And here to make the presentation to you is the man who used to be your boss at London Weekend Television, playing Jeeves for one night only, Greg Dyke.
No, not the Gregford. The Gregford.
Thank you, our man Dyke.
Absolutely.
You've done your job well.
Thank you very much.
Right, your school days are successful and happy. From the age of 5, you attend Rotherhithe Primary, where you're often top of the class.
Yeah.
And it's here you meet someone who will remain a lifelong pal.
Hosh, hosh, alum, posh.
It's Tommy Hodges.
Which will now be translated by the aforementioned Tommy Hodges.
Tommy Hodges.
This was Hosh, Hosh, Alom, Posh.
Yes.
Is this anything to do with
The
kosher
mythical
food?
Greek name.
There was a great, we used to go over the park and play football. And
Hang on, it's his story.
Oh,
We play football over the park,
Oh, yes.
and we used to invent European teams. We could think of a French, Spanish, Italian.
Yeah.
We couldn't think of a Greek one
no.
until the mythical Hosh, hosh, alum, posh.
And I remember laughing long and all afternoon.
And we've used it with kind of a gag ever since.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Jonathan
Yeah.
couldn't deliver it, but you and I, we know how to get in the park.
Thank you,
That's
Tommy.
it, Michael.
That'll do, nicely. Yeah.
As good as it gets. Thanks, Thomas.
Now, your passion for football, and Millwall in particular, takes hold early, and when you pass the 11 plus, you turn down an opportunity to go to the local grammar school on the grounds that they don't play football. When you leave West Greenwich School at the age of 15, you're horrified when the careers officer tells you your prospects are excellent. All you want to do is work in a record shop, and that's exactly what you do, taking over Tommy Hodges' job in the West End's One Stop Records.
Shop.
And we have a message from someone else who used to work with you at that shop, showbiz agent Gary Farrow.
Oh! Evening, Daniel. Would you swap that for that? David Essex. You remember David Essex? 22 years ago, you had the best shut-up lines of all. You told everybody he was your cousin. And I think looking at it, it's plainly obvious that he wasn't. Have a good night. I'm off to rearrange my sock drawer.
Thank you very much.
I actually, it's just not to correct Gary, but I actually used to tell people I was David Essex's brother. That was the thing. And when Stardust opened in London, I was knocking about with some girl, and she would have been heartbroken, not only have dropped me like a stone, if she'd known I wasn't David Essex's brother. And she went, I want to go to the premiere. Right, that's no problem. I'll tell Dave when I get in. All right, premiere. Now, girls like around the States didn't know the difference between a premiere and a first night. So when it came down to Lewisham I said, this is the premiere. It's first night. And I bought 2 tickets in the afternoon. I got a John Ball printing set, and I put on the back of it, complimentary family. And I said, look at that on the back, it says complimentary. And we sat there with all the old todgers and sat there and watched Stardust. And she was going, ah, Dave's brother, you know. Sure, Lewisham Odeon, it's premiere. Quite true, though. Sweet. Quite true.
Now, in 1976, having whetted your appetite for the music industry, you and a friend start your own magazine aimed at punk rockers. Did you do that for love, money, or both?
I did it because the girl was going out with at the time. She was very impressed that Mark had started a rock and roll magazine, and I could type, and my sister had a typewriter, which is what he didn't have, and I threw in my lot there. It wasn't purely altruistic and for the good of punk. That was all it was.
But how did you get from a punk magazine to New Musical Express?
Well, I used to knock into all the blokes up there, and they said they needed a man to sit on the door of the NME, the biggest selling rock magazine in the world, because they said they got a lot of lunatics up there. Would you sit on the reception and answer the phones? Because you look like lunatics had come up and they'd be frightened of you. So I said, yeah. And that's how I started as a rock journalist in the major press, yeah. From Stepping Blow.
Well, anyway, it's not long before you're one of the star writers, and it's at the magazine that you meet Wendy, and you make many good friends. For 3 happy years, you're on the road with the rock and rollers, and you finally end up where you always thought you would, prison.
And what a night to remember.
Former darts bass player and cellmate Ian Thump Thompson.
It is the Thumpmeister. Yes, it is.
Well, Ian, you and Danny have done a bit of bird, then, have you?
Well, yeah, it was a gig in Derby we'd done, and we'd gone back to our hotel afterwards, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, do you remember I was describing to you how Bobby Charlton scored the winning goal in the European Cup final? Unfortunately, with his head...
There was no ball available.
There was no ball, no. But I was on the table at the time, if you remember, for the audience. And as I leapt, there was a chandelier that got in the way, that became the ball. And shattered all over the... I mean, the management obviously weren't impressed. Nor were the Derby police.
No.
Jury was banged up for the name.
It was that kind of rock and roll, mate. Get over it, you babies.
The night in Derby.
Lovely story. Ian Thompson, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tom. There you go. Now.
In 1981, you're one of the last people to be given an interview by Michael Jackson. In fact, you met the whole clan, and that must have been a lot of names to remember.
Yeah, we did. I walked in, and Michael was the last one to turn up, and it was the last interview he gave. He was very famous at the time. And so I'm sitting there in Los Angeles, in this room, with all the other Jacksons. And then the press officer said to us, now, what you must remember here is all the brothers have a different view on things. So could you address the questions personally? Now, I only want to talk to Michael Jackson. The rest are just baggage. So I'm sitting there thinking, all right, OK, that's fine, that's right. So Michael turns up, and I said, well, begin the interview. So I'm thinking, who's who here? Now, hang on, all right, so we know, Dan, the eldest Jackson used to be president of Yugoslavia. That's Tito. Tito Jackson is there. That's fine, we've got that. Now, the youngest Jackson is the unforgettably named Randy, because one of the other, Jermaine, stayed at Motown. But who are those two blokes? So, OK, let's start now. So I figured one of them used to be in the Perishers in the Daily Mirror. Marlon. Marlon, that's it. And the other one's got two surnames. It's Jackie Jackson. So, which one's Marlon, which one's Jackie? So I figured if I say, while I'm fiddling with me boot, is it always as hot as this in L.A., Marlon? The one who didn't answer must be Jackie, and that's how I sorted the Jacksons out. But originally, I was just going to state a sleepy, dopey, grumpy, and then that's the only way forward. Yeah, didn't know who the Jacksons were.
Brilliant.
Still don't know.
Well, your own first appearance on television came in 1977 when you were interviewed for a local magazine show.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I ain't got any sympathy with people around my way. If they ain't got any idea, you know, what's going on, if they can't be bothered to get out of the opposite place, we ain't got no sympathy with them. We're not trying to liberate the old generation. We've got no dopey illusions like the hippies having tomorrow. We're all ruling the country. Nothing like that. What? As long as people in this country are trying to stop us doing what we're doing, and that's the main thing. I mean,
how are they stopping you now, though? Because you formed your own...
The person asking the questions there was left with a very definite opinion of you.
Yes, Danny, I couldn't really get a word in edgeways, and you know that I'm a pretty big talker myself. Anyway, I thought you were so good that when I produced my first television series, I hired you as the presenter. Things went pretty well until one day you and I had a bit of a disagreement on the telephone, and you were in your office in Oxford Circus, and I slammed the phone down on you. The next thing I know, you'd run all the way from Oxford Circus down to my office on the South Bank, and when I went to pick you up from reception, you were hyperventilating so much I had to take you to casualty. I realised then you really do have to have the last word.
Quite true, yeah.
Well, that first meeting with Janet Street Porter leads to several TV jobs, including a regular spot on London's 6 o'clock show, alongside one or two other vaguely familiar faces.
Here's Baker, and he's in the clear. He's got a great chance now to put Millwall into the lead. Baker must score. No! A marvellous save.
Well, hello, team. Menagerie, I should say. What's happened to you since last we met? Are you refreshed?
Every week. I'll come out of, and I forget it's Friday night. I always have to ring Wen and say, Wen, I forgot my shirt, I'm sending a cab round to get it. And every week she says, one of these weeks, take your shirts with you. And this week I forgot them again, and she sent me shirt up. Here it is, thanks a lot, Wen. Look at that, you see that?
No, I can't remember it myself, but apparently that show was a breeding ground for broadcasters, and as you can see, many of the old team are here tonight.
Fantastic.
And of course, you will remember this gentle voice.
Ixnay the verbals, Nitto the biz, Bish Bash Bosh, and in walked a face.
Former mastermind, Fred Housker.
Actually, let's go through it. Ixnay the verbals, cut it out.
Yeah.
Nitto the biz, stop it right there. Bish Bash Bosh, that's the end of the story, the tin hat. And in walks a face, and I come down the slope. What else do you want?
Thanks, Fred.
Thanks, Fred. Well, other members of the show's team also had some bizarre assignments.
Talk about a hair-raising experience.
But he lived to tell the tale. It's Gary Wilmot.
It is indeed, the Wilmot Meister.
Gary, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, we're embraced now. If we met in the street, we'd just shake hands and that'd be it, wouldn't it? Lovely man, lovely man. Well, yes, we did indeed, with you, Michael, in the main chair there on a Friday night, bring the 6 o'clock show to London and the surrounding area. Well, we were in the comfort of the studio, just like this evening, but Danny was always on an OB somewhere, outside broadcast, and he was always in some obscure place, I don't know, like the Queen's broom cupboard or some recently found sewer somewhere, but every time he came on the screen, there were these nutters, crazy people behind him, and there was one particular occasion I remember, there was a woman there was doing her damnedest to get her baby on the television, and she was throwing a baby up behind him, and he called her, coming up the shot. But I admired him so much because he just kept going, never stuck for words.
Great memories. Gary, thank you very much. Well, working on the 6 o'clock show marks several milestones for you. Not only do you get to meet one of your musical heroes, Rick Wakeman, but when you marry Wendy in 1988, one member of the show's production team does the honours as your best man.
Oh. Which is more than can be said for you.
The big noise from the Big Breakfast, Jonathan's big brother, Paul Ross. So, Paul, I understand this lad's a bit accident-prone.
He is, yeah. There's a legion of stories about him, but the one I treasure particularly is the one time Wendy prevailed upon him to take the Christmas decorations, and he didn't bother to deflate the balloons or unfold up the tinsel. He just tucked it all in the understairs cupboard. And some weeks later, he went in there, in the dark, looking for something, bang, trod on a broom, stood upright, and knocked himself out. Yes.
That was a tragedy, that story.
And the other thing that happened to him, and I witnessed this, he was round and he has a habit of taking his shoes off in the front, which is fair enough. And he's in the front room watching a video or something, and the phone rang, and he bounded across the floor, took 2 steps, and landed plumb on an upturned 3-pin plug. But like a dinosaur, it took 2 more steps before the sheer agony reached his head. And he opened the phone and went, ah!
Excuse me. Oh, well, all right, we went afterwards.
We like that, Paul. Thanks very much.
Mr. Cack-headed, you. Mr. Cack-headed.
Danny, you've presented the Big Breakfast show, and here are a few faces that you should remember well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Danny Baker! Danny! Oh, gentlemen! Danny! Danny, you were a dream, an utter dream. Oh, the perfect co-presenter. Stimulating. Was he? He was. Really?
Yes.
Excellent. Danny.
Oh, Danny, it was a pleasure.
Lunch, Danny.
Yeah, we must. We'll never forget you,
Which
Danny.
one was he again? Was he the one with the red hair and glasses?
Yeah, the one with
I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
Danny Evans.
Danny Evans.
Danny Evans.
Danny Evans.
Danny.
Danny.
Yeah, we'll do lunch. Bye.
Oh, enjoy your evening.
Well, thank you, Zig and Zag. Even though it's past her bedtime, she's here to say hello in person. Gabby Rosalind.
Oh, no, the Gagmeister.
Now, as we have heard, football is one of your passions in life. In 1990, you make a documentary with one of the world's most talented soccer stars who inevitably becomes a good friend. He hasn't even been known to sleep on your sofa.
Okay, Danny, remember this little chubby face? Well, I remember 3 years ago I said, if you keep on being as talented as you are, you're going to be famous. And you said, you don't want to be famous. 3 years later, this is your life. Well, mate, we had a couple of little stories to tell you. Remember we went night clubbing? And you had a few much to drink and you went home.
I did.
And you told them how you were outside a hotel, not a hotel, you were standing in the corner for 45 minutes in the rain, flagging the taxi town, and every taxi stopped, you kept on seeing where you were going. But you just didn't realise that the hotel you were staying was 3 yards behind you, and every taxi kept on telling you where to go. And the other story was when, another time it must have been someone's party, where we two were really drunk, and we went back to your house and you laid me on your settee and you just mumbled in my ears, Paul, be careful of the dog. But you didn't see the dog was in the kitchen. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, when I went in there for a drink, I was about that far getting my backside chewed off. Well, maybe that could have been another operation I needed. But could you have me trainers on and escaped unhurt, luckily. Anyway, this is your night, mate. Deserve it. This is your life. And I tell you what, you're a very talented bloke. I'm pleased for you, Dan. Take care. Good
Thank you, Paul Gaston. Well, Danny, it has been a colourful career so far, to say the least. As I mentioned earlier, on one memorable occasion, you and one of your musical heroes team up to do a television report on the golden days of organ music. Yes, keyboard king Rick Wakeman.
It's the Wakeman choir. Come on, you get to see you in an outlandish outfit.
I met this character for the very first time, 6 o'clock show.
Yeah.
It was doing a report on theatre organs in a little organ centre down Bond Street.
Yeah.
I won't mention their name. And we met down there. I was the person who was going along as giving my report as the alcoholic rock musician and what I thought of it at the same time. And we met at this little pub, and we've spent about 2 hours doing our bit for Save the Vineyards. And then we went back to do... into the studio where this old boy was all dressed in his Robin Richmond gear. Do you remember the old full bit? And well, you cracked up and I went over to the pub.
Yeah, and you did.
And we went back and we've been great friends ever since. But the one thing that was fantastic out of it, we didn't learn much about music, but we both particularly learned a bit about dress sense.
Exactly, you and I both.
It's immediately obvious. Perhaps then you'd be kind enough, Rick, to provide us with our big finish.
Big finish.
Rick Wakeman. Yeah.
I've got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's pretty obvious that Danny is one of the great presenters. But the reason that he's a great presenter isn't the chat. It's because he's got a bounding enthusiasm for almost everything, and he can express it. He's absolutely a gem, and it's marvellous that you, the public, enjoy him as much as I do.
Wow, you top man. Thank you very much.
This is your life.
Thanks, Mike.
In half an hour here on BBC One, how do they do that? And in just a few moments, Here and Now.